Sounds like what you're saying is San Francisco can't stand on its own.
It never could.
Now, back to Steiny and Guru on 95.7 The Game.
All right, Steiny and Guru with you. It's crossover time.
Hey.
Dibley in the house, Willard in the house, and a special guest, former head men's basketball coach at Santa Clara University, Kerry Keating.
Yeah.
He's also, you can see him on ABC
Coach.
after the NBA Finals with Aloha Means Goodbye,
Thank
Larry
you.
Beal. And I think Donald Foyle's still doing it.
Still is.
What's up, buddy? Great to see you.
Good to see you guys, man. I'm actually visiting some family, coming in to pick up the kids from a quick trip in the city with their grandmother. And I got to swing by and say hello to the crew.
Where'd you park?
I got a spot on battery.
First question.
That's right.
yeah.
Okay.
First question.
A lot of bipping going on out here.
So, even though I know, where are you living these days?
Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm in the Tar Heel State, baby. Tar Heel
Raleigh
State.
is, don't tell me, Chapel Hill. Raleigh's North Carolina State.
Raleigh's NC State.
Yeah.
Chapel Hill is North Carolina. Durham is Duke.
How far are each of those schools from each other?
25
Drive?
Yeah. Raleigh, where we're at, 10 minutes to State, 25
You like
to
it?
Duke. Love it. Love it.
Tell me
Great
why.
spot. A lot of people coming in there. A lot of people getting out of here, going in there.
Yeah,
Looks like
I
we
know.
set the trend back in 2020.
Not to make
I'm
it
on my
about
way.
me. My daughter on her way to Greensboro, North Carolina, AT&T.
Goo, it's always about you.
Well, no, it's across. It's everybody. Yeah.
It's A&T.
Yeah,
it's all right. Yeah.
Great
Well,
ecosystem.
she's an agriculture.
You said
and-
AT&T. Technology, I think.
Agriculture and technology.
No, he was talking about her phone service.
Exactly.
Does it work
Yeah.
out there?
Think about my bill, too,
North
yeah.
Carolina AT&T.
Yeah.
You
How does
tell
it
her to
work?
look me up. If she's ever
All
through
right.
town.
I'm for real.
She's going to be an operator.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Nah, she's going to run
I
the
work for
show.
the company.
Yeah. Milan's smart cookie, young lady.
Enough about me.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a play off.
Nah, you can't. You can't.
So, what else?
Patrick Bailey.
Thanks for
I've
coming in,
never
Kerry.
watched a baseball game end like that with a guy getting thrown off first base. Just me. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I have never. I've seen a lot of baseball.
He
Tony
said
Pena.
it's never happened in his career at any level. And then I read some StatCast deal that was like the. I don't even. By the way,
Bailey went to NC
what is the
State.
StatCast era? When people say the StatCast era, how far does that go
Wow.
back? However far that goes back, that was the fastest release to first base in the history of the StatCast era. That may only go back to like January, but whatever. It was fast.
Did Buster weigh in on that play?
No.
I mean, I don't see Buster Posey making plays.
I hadn't
Like,
heard anything
okay,
from him.
yeah, controversial potential question.
Imagine had that
Is he-
ball
is he-
went
who's
down
better?
the right.
Is he already better
the first
defensively?
baseline.
Is he already better defensively than Buster Posey?
As a thrower, yes. He
Yeah,
might be the best throwing catcher I've ever seen.
I mean,
Calling the games.
Well, think about Blake
Yeah,
Sable.
that's next
Okay,
level.
okay.
Blake Sable throws a guy out, and I was watching it, and I go, all right, Bailey. Oh, my God, that's Blake Sable.
Yeah.
And then, you're doing something or whatever, and you turn back around, and another guy gets thrown out, and you're like, Sable, have a game. Oh, that's Bailey.
That's Bailey.
And then Bailey with the back pick. They threw three
back
guys
pick.
out. 3 of the 27 outs were via the catcher's arms.
And he's not even, like, he doesn't even have to get up.
No.
He just throws it. He just flicks it from his knees sometimes.
Steiny's perplexed as to why these teams, the Reds, the last time they visited
Why
the
they
Reds,
keep running on him.
I'm like, he's
Exactly.
brand new. They don't believe him yet.
Yeah,
but
man,
you can steal a base on a pitcher sometimes.
Sometimes, well, the D-backs are big base stealers. This is a big part of what they do.
Fair.
So I
So they're
think
gonna be trying to
sometimes
steal tonight.
they're like, look, they're not gonna go. What was his name? The coach of the Mavericks who changed his lineup there, Avery Johnson. They're not gonna go Avery Johnson. They're like, we're gonna do what we do. You got to stop us. And now they might change tonight. Now they
It's
might
like
change
old
tonight.
NBA players trying to go in and dunk on Mutombo. It's like, he's not going to get me. And then out comes the index. No. Because I guess you keep thinking, well, he's not going to get me. I'm going to get over on Patrick Bailey or Dikembe.
Hey, Kerry, in your years of coaching or in basketball, you ever have a situation or meet Kobe Bryant?
No, never did, unfortunately. It's one of the biggest regrets I have in basketball, to be honest with you.
That you
Wow.
just never
And I
came
never-
across him, or you had a chance? And you
Never,
didn't?
no, I never got a chance to meet him.
Gotcha.
We, our kids are in middle school now. The oldest one trying to play basketball. We're trying to develop
Awesome.
a little community of basketball out there in Raleigh, obviously in the hotbed in the Tar Heel State, the hoop state, as they like to call it out there. And his lessons would definitely translate to a lot what these kids need right now, for sure.
Yeah, the reason he brings it up is I had him as my second favorite player behind Michael Jordan.
Also, the second of all time.
All time, yeah, Kobe Bryant. He was a Michael Jordan clone, and he's kind of not giving me grief, but what was Kobe in your top 15?
Yeah.
And Evan and Steiny tried to gang up on me, Willard and Dibs, and say he didn't make others better. Andrew Bynum on line one. Gasol, Hall of Famer, played his best basketball under Kobe. But Smush Parker, Sasha,
Smush
Lamar
Parker,
Odom,
Sasha,
when he ain't on the sauce or whatever he was doing, Kobe's a badass.
I said,
that's all.
You'll see the documentary where Smush Parker's like crying.
No,
and he regrets because they didn't like each other.
Yeah, that I know.
Like Kobe made there was a little mini Dwight Howard thing going on. Like he kind of ruined his whole thing, the whole vibe around Smush. They did not like each other. And then post-season, post-career.
I did not see this.
To post-life. Yeah, like Smoosh was like, I was watching it on a plane. It was one of those things where it's like you got 18 options of what to watch. And I'm like, I watched this Kobe Bryant documentary. It was coming back from Hawaii a few weeks ago. And Smoosh was crying. He was crying on my little mini screen there on the airplane on Hawaiian Airlines.
So he takes a blame for...
Not blame. He just, regret that it sort of ended the way it did and that he never had it because he sort of realized what Kobe was doing.
It was Smush. It wasn't Kobe.
Yeah.
In other words, Smush realized it's me. It's not you. It's me.
Totally.
It's a classic. It's not you.
He
it's
was
me.
the last one to know.
Right.
But still.
But that's tough when you play with somebody who's that driven and maybe you're not as motivated yourself.
That's the thing.
And
that's the thing. It's like players who play for the Patriots. It's built for some people. It's not built for all of them.
Yeah.
Weren't you on Wake Forest staff when Duncan was there?
My first year in coaching, I had a great story about that.
Give it to me.
You got so many great
Duncan's
stories.
Hall of Fame inauguration speech. As he's going through the paces of his distinguished career, he says, who would have thought a kid from Wake Forest who got chickenpox would make the Hall of Fame? And I froze when he said that. Because my first job at Wake Forest was as the video guy, the fourth assistant, back in '93. Dave Odom comes in the office one day, he says, guys, and he always used to scratch his hands and get all nervous and stuff. Guys, we got a problem. And I was under orders to not say anything. Keep your mouth shut. So I said, oh, boy, do I say anything? Who's had chickenpox in here? And I'm like, oh, God, I've had chickenpox. Do I say yes or no? What's this trick question? No one had chickenpox except for me. He says, okay, Tim's got chickenpox, 2-week quarantine. You're the only one allowed in the gym with him upstairs in the old gym. So for 2 weeks, nobody was around Tim Duncan in October before the season except me. And he mentioned this. I had chickenpox. I swear to you, I have to go talk about coming across guys. Yeah. I have to go find Tim Duncan and find out what happened in those 2 weeks because I certainly didn't say anything to him. I was just catching the balls, went through the net, and giving it back to him. But something about that triggered when he said, who would have thought a kid who got chickenpox would be in the Hall of Fame? And I was like, wait a minute. So there's something poignant that happened there I need to go back and extract from. Clearly, something happened there that I missed.
That's Kerry Keating you're listening to, former coach of the Santa Clara Broncos, and he's talking about his days as an assistant with the Wake Forest Demon Deacons.
The way that story should go is I taught Tim to shoot this little 14-foot turnaround bank shot. And, Tim kind of picked up. It took Tim a while to pick up on it, but I showed him how to hit that shot. That's what I would be claiming.
Willard, you covered Kobe.
I have Duncan over Kobe on my all-time
top 5.
And there's no shade
Well, just
in that.
over Kobe.
But do you scoff? Do you when somebody like myself has Kobe in the top 5?
Well, but you use the word too. But you use the word favorite. You get to put whoever you want there. You can put Smush there if you want.
But there's 2 blemishes for Kobe.
2
on the court. The 04 finals where he really was not passing the ball to Shaq and allowed Detroit to win that going away. In the Phoenix playoff game where he did not shoot because he was trying to prove a point.
What about his entire last season?
The second one more than the first.
It was over then.
I covered 04.
Okay, talk to me.
I went to all the.
I was mad.
Let me get that for you.
Get it.
Okay.
That was way bigger than
people know.
Kobe Bryant not passing. That had watching The Last Dance and being in the building when they lost at the Palace had very similar vibes. They lose in Game 5, and within minutes, Phil Jackson's got his whole family up on the podium. And people are sitting there going, what are you going to say about the game? And it was clear that he was like, no, it's about what I'm about to tell you about my career.
Man.
That group was done. It was way bigger than Kobe wouldn't pass to Shaq. The whole thing had busted apart
Where's the footage?
from the
Somebody
inside
put it
out.
together.
It was cooked. It was you know what I mean? Like we saw how the Warriors talk about last year now. Like there are years where the stuff that's going on inside is bigger than what happens on the court.
Coach, I got to ask you, your thoughts on the Warrior season and everything that went on from the start to the end.
Wait, you probably know Chris Paul a little bit, right? Did you come across him?
No, not at Wake. Not at Wake. With our time at Houston, though, when I scouted for the Rockets, he was on the Rockets at the time. Boy, I tell you, they better come out of the gate fast on that one.
Wow.
I think if that thing doesn't start the way it's supposed to start, it could get off the rails quick.
Yep.
That's just my take on it.
So,
how many
I'm
times?
not sure there's going to be a lot of patience involved.
How many times have you seen members of teams that you've been around punch each other in the fashion that we saw? Because everyone always says, like, oh, this happens all the time. It happens. You're a guy who's been around basketball high level.
I had one kid punch a teammate when I was at Tennessee and break his jaw. They were roommates. Not to this level. We didn't get rid of
Who was the head coach at that time?
Buzz Peterson.
Okay.
That's the only time I can think of actually a punch landing within a team on any level.
Right.
Certainly in this day and age, putting it all on for the world to see on video was probably the killer on that one.
Definitely.
So for a guy like me, that's all of us that have been around to watch this Warrior culture and this great run, I assumed that they had the wherewithal to get it fixed. Andre on a scholarship, basically. Bob Myers would tell us, he's here good for the youngsters or to mentor. And I got to tell you, I'm basketball hurt at everybody that they couldn't get that rectified, not just to Jordan Poole, but Draymond Green. Do you think that's fair that I feel like when the Warrior culture really needed to be tested, it failed?
Especially in the times I was watching the game to go on the air on the ABC games and watching the game more than just the clips or just the day after because it's later out there, obviously, on the East Coast. I thought the issue wasn't from a basketball standpoint with Steve. I didn't think that Jordan fit in the mold of playing on the team, to be honest with you. I aptly nicknamed him YOLO. Everything that he did was going for broke. And half the time after he took a layup, transition defense was 5-on-4. It was too repetitive. And I think I don't know. I'm not saying I have any insider knowledge on it, but if I had to guess, you weren't going to find Steve Kerr internally begging to keep them. I just don't think it was a good fit for him.
That goes with what you've been saying, Willard, where he had lost the locker room. Guys didn't want to be around him.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco and Odyssey Station. Yeah, go ahead, Goo.
No, that was a great question, and I think in terms of what you're talking about, the YOLO is what Mark and I have discussed in the afternoons about Jordan Poole and everybody dribble, and he's falling down and he's trying to go headlong to the hoop and over and over. How about the basketball fit now this year with Chris Paul and the whole notion of can he unlock Jonathan Kuminga?
All these years of Warriors fans begging for pick and roll, we're going to have to get it in some way, shape, or form if you're going to unlock Chris Paul because that is his strength. I don't know if that's going to be Jonathan Kuminga's evolution as a rim roller, if you will. I don't know if he turns into any type of pick and pop guy, but if he's going to be on that roster, he's the type of guy that can certainly catch a lob on a downhill pick and roll, which Chris is pretty good at. But he doesn't fit the mold of moving miles on the court. Yeah, that's for sure. So there's two distinct styles at play here with Steph and with CP. And I think it's a challenge for Steve to see how he can put them together because there are going to be times they got to be together on the floor. Who starts, who comes off the bench? Look, if Steve's going to have any type of success, that's not going to matter. What's going to matter is the end result. There's going to have to be some sacrifice. And I think Chris should be one to sacrifice more because he's obviously fallen short of that target goal of a championship. This is the best chance he's ever going to have.
But he's got to be on the floor at the end, you would think, right?
You want your best players on the floor at the end.
Foul
you want
shooting,
your best
decision making.
Really, I think is what Steve values. And as we all know around here, turnovers are the super of the day every time the Warriors play. So if you can put him in a position where he's not turning the ball over, and maybe it unlocks a different part of the split offense. I'm really curious to see what the staff comes up with offensively to either shift to bring a part of it to Chris's game, or if they can shift Chris back into what they want into that split offense.
Real quick, you're listening to Kerry Keating, former Santa Clara Broncos head coach, back in the area saying hello.
Yeah, you said you want your best players on there at the end.
Oh, man.
Is Chris Paul one of their 3 or 4 best backcourt players?
That's what we're going to find out. I mean, I think that's the $1 million question. And I think we'll know early in the season in those games where we're not afforded that opportunity to just let it ride and take an L every once in a while.
Coach,
anymore.
That's a big question, though, right?
No, I know.
That is a humongous
You got Steph, you got
question.
Clay, you got Wiggins. I know we're moving into the small forward, but positionless basketball, even Draymond brings the ball up the floor. Is it like that final 5?
Wow.
Well, and that probably leans
That's a
more to where
headache.
Kaminga's development comes from in
Yeah.
terms of being able to be that guy that's a threat in the middle of the floor where those guys can space it wide.
How tapped in are you to the college game still?
A little bit.
How's a kid from Indiana?
Davis.
David
I thought that
Jackson.
was, I don't know about the kid they got in the
Davis.
first round and wherever school he came from. But I thought that was the steal of the draft. I did get a chance to watch a few of those games, obviously coached by a pro and Mike Woodson, if
Right.
you will. I wouldn't be surprised if they get more out of him earlier than the other kid.
That seems to be
It feels like that.
conventional.
It already
Yeah.
feels like that.
I mean,
Yeah.
like 4 years at Indiana, right?
At least 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was all 4.
But lefty, a little bit undersized, but has some craftiness to him, has some skill, can shoot it. I
Little
think he fits the
Othello
mold.
Harrington?
Maybe not that big. He was
Big.
more.
What?
Othello was more of a 5 man.
Exactly.
I think TJD is more of a 3, maybe a small 4.
Can he shoot it a little bit?
Enough. I think sufficiently enough. And in this league, if you can shoot it all, they'll just throw you in the corner. Especially when you got 2 other guys out there shooting it from the wings and up
True.
top.
You fill your basketball Jones by doing TV, but do you miss it? And what do you miss about being on a college staff or being the head guy and going out there and just grinding conference games in January?
Just the games. I loved practice actually more than the games as the teaching element. But just the competition, being in the gym. I got a running thing with all the folks up in Spokane about how they used to beat our butt every year. But I tell you, man, I loved going up there because the environment was just unbelievable. And I could tip my cap to what they've built up there because it'll never be replicated or duplicated, I should say. But I just love the environment. The places I was afforded to be at, all big arenas and big games, and we were the biggest game on the schedule, even in the non-conference. We always got everyone's best shot. That's the part you miss. You don't get a lot of that in middle school basketball now, Dibs. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's a different element in middle school right now.
A little bit. Although you could be like Kendrick Perkins and get kicked out of an AAU game with a bunch of 9-year-olds. So that's never been your style.
Never got thrown out of a game.
All right, well, you don't have to go anywhere, but I got to get going.
You got
So-
tea time?
Yeah, I do. I usually leave it too, but
It's
I
a
gave you an extra
Wednesday
6
thing.
minutes.
It's a Wednesday thing.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
let the collared shirt fool you.
You don't have to get an
with,
early flight to Vegas with you and your daughter?
What's that?
You don't have to take the early flight for you and your daughter to Vegas?
We're going to Vegas.
I'm aware. We.
Circa.
Goo's going solo?
See, he's a P1. He's a P1.
You don't even need to be a P1. It's
Yeah,
all over
can't
the
let him do
internet.
that.
It's all over the damn internet all day.
All right, gents.
All right.
You have a good
Kerry,
one.
good to see you.
Appreciate you
don't
guys.
have to end it, but I got
What's that?
You don't have to go home, but you can't.
But you
stay
can't
here.
say
No, you don't have to go home, but
All
you
right.
can't
See
stay
you guys
here.
tomorrow.
All right, boys.